The message arrived on a Tuesday, a simple transmission that changed everything for humanity. Lisa Peterson stared at the holographic display in the United Earth Alliance headquarters, reading the invitation again. After centuries of wondering if they were alone in the universe, decades of sending signals into space, and years of preparation for first contact, humans had been invited to join the Galactic Concord Peace Summit. "Captain Peterson, do you understand what this means?" asked General Rogers, his voice unusually quiet in the large meeting room. Lisa nodded slowly. At 42, she had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "It means we're not just acknowledged. We're recognized as equals. Which is why you'll be leading our delegation," the general said. "The diplomatic vessel Handshake leaves in 4 days." The news spread quickly. Lisa spent the next morning reviewing her team files. Dr. Amy Washington, the leading xenobiologist. Dr. Peter Garcia, Earth's foremost expert on sustainable ecosystems. Commander Richard Lee, selected to represent the military aspects of human civilization. Professor Susan Brown, cultural specialist with 3 doctorates in communication theory. And John Miller, diplomatic advisor with a gift for reading body language, even when the bodies weren't human. "Nervous?" John asked, finding Lisa in the ship preparation area. The Handshake gleamed under the bright lights, its sleek form designed to appear non-threatening. "Wouldn't you be?" Lisa smiled, watching technicians load the last supplies. "We're about to represent all of humanity to species we've never even imagined." John handed her a tablet. "Latest briefing from the Ziril ambassador. They've been our only contact so far." Lisa scanned the document, frowning at a particular section. "This is the 3rd time they've sent warnings about personal conduct and physical restraint. What exactly do they think we're going to do?" "Different species, different concerns," John shrugged. "But there's something they're not telling us. The wording seems careful." On departure day, the team gathered in the ship's conference room. The atmosphere was tense with excitement. Lisa stood at the head of the table, looking at the faces of the brightest minds Earth had to offer. "We've all trained for this," she said. "But no training can fully prepare us for what we're about to experience. We are the first humans most of these species will ever meet. Their impression of our entire race begins with us." "No pressure," Dr. Garcia muttered, earning nervous laughter from the others. The ship's engines hummed to life. On the main screen, Earth grew smaller behind them as they accelerated toward the jump point. "Captain," the communication officer called. "Incoming message from the Ziril ship that's escorting us." A thin, blue-skinned figure appeared on screen. Ambassador Zeal had been their primary contact. Yet Lisa noticed the ambassador seemed more tense than in previous communications. "Captain Peterson," Zeal said, blinking large compound eyes. "Before we reach the Harmonious Exchange station, I must advise you, we appreciate any guidance, Ambassador. The species gathering at the summit, many have certain preconceptions about humans." Lisa exchanged glances with John. "What kind of preconceptions?" "Your world is known to us. Its properties are unusual. Many delegates may act with caution around your kind." After the transmission ended, "Commander," Lee frowned. "What was that about? They've known our planetary data for months." "I don't think it's about our planet," Professor Brown said thoughtfully. "I think it's about us." 3 days later, the Handshake approached a massive structure hanging against the backdrop of a red giant star. The space station, Harmonious Exchange, looked like a glittering wheel with spokes extending from a central hub. Ships of various designs docked along its rim. "This is it," Lisa said, as the team gathered for final preparations. "Remember your training. Be respectful, be curious, be human." None of them realized that the last instruction would prove to be the problem. The docking process went smoothly as the Handshake connected to the space station. Lisa led her team through the airlock, expecting a formal welcome. Instead, they entered an unusually quiet reception area. Various alien species stood in small groups, their conversations stopping as the humans entered. "Is it just me, or are they all staring at us?" Dr. Garcia whispered. He was right. At least 30 different alien species filled the large hall. each more unusual than the last. Some floated in bubbling tanks, others balanced on multiple legs. A few seemed to shift colors as they moved. All of them watched the humans with expressions that even non-experts could read as concern. Ambassador Zeal approached, flanked by two tall, insect-like beings. "Captain Peterson, welcome to Harmonious Exchange. These are the station administrators." Lisa stepped forward with a practiced smile. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we thank you for this invitation." The nearest administrator took 3 steps, backward. Its antenna flattened against its head. John touched Lisa's elbow gently. "I think you're standing too close," he murmured. "My apologies," Lisa said, moving back. "We're still learning proper customs." "Understandable," Zeal said. "Your quarters have been prepared. The opening ceremony begins in 6 hours." As they followed their guide through curved corridors, Lisa noticed how other delegates pressed against walls when they passed. Some even changed direction completely. "Something's definitely wrong," Commander Lee said once they reached their quarters, a spacious suite with individual rooms branching from a central area. "They act like we might attack them," Dr. Washington observed. "Did anyone else notice how that floating jellyfish creature literally dropped to the floor when I smiled at it?" Professor Brown was already reviewing data on her tablet. "I'm comparing our physical appearance to known species in the database Zeal provided. Nothing obvious stands out as threatening." "Maybe it's not how we look," Lisa suggested. "Maybe it's what they know about us," John nodded. "Or what they think they know." 2 hours later, they ventured to the station's central garden, a massive biodome filled with plants from 100 worlds. Susan suggested they observe interactions from a distance before engaging further. They watched as various species mingled, some communicating through translators, others using common sign languages. The atmosphere seemed relaxed and friendly until a group noticed the humans observing. Whispers spread through the garden. A small purple being with 6 arms tugged at a taller companion, pointing discreetly at the humans. "Let's approach slowly," Lisa decided. "Susan, any advice?" "Keep your hands visible. Move deliberately. No sudden gestures." They walked toward the garden's center where refreshment stations had been set up. As they moved, a clear path formed, as aliens stepped aside. "Like the Red Sea parting," Dr. Garcia muttered. A small, friendly-looking alien with bright blue fur approached them. Unlike the others, it seemed curious rather than fearful. "Greetings, humans. I am Claxtoon of the Zithari. May I join you?" Lisa smiled, careful not to show teeth. "We would be honored." They found a quiet corner with seating designed to accommodate multiple body types. Claxtoon's large eyes studied them with obvious interest. "You seem less concerned about us than the others," John observed. "The Zithari believe in learning through direct experience. Others prefer to rely on data and rumors." "What rumors?" Commander Lee asked bluntly. Claxtoon's fur rippled in what might have been amusement. "That you come from a death world, that your biology defies conventional classification, that you can survive conditions that would kill most sentient species. Earth is just our home," Dr. Washington said, confused. "It's not particularly special?" "Perhaps to you." Claxtoon leaned forward. "Is it true that your world has regions of freezing solid water and liquid hot molten rock? That microscopic organisms constantly try to invade your bodies? That you intentionally consume neurotoxins for pleasure?" The humans exchanged puzzled glances. "You mean winter, volcanoes, disease, and coffee?" Lisa asked. "Those are just normal parts of life on Earth." Claxtoon's fur stood straight up. "Fascinating, and also exactly why everyone here is terrified of you." The medical examination area buzzed with activity as delegates from all worlds underwent standard health checks. The human team waited their turn, watching as various alien bodies were scanned by machines that hummed and flashed. "Just routine," Ambassador Zeal had assured them, "to prevent cross-species contamination." Dr. Amy Washington went first, stepping into a rounded booth where blue light washed over her body. The medical officer, a tall being with 4 arms and skin like polished silver, studied the results on a screen. Its eyes widened, Is something wrong? Amy asked. The medical officer jumped at her voice. Your skeleton? It's internal and made of calcium deposits? Yes, bones. All humans have them. The officer's fingers tapped rapidly on a panel. And this reading can't be right. Your body appears to be constantly fighting microscopic invaders. That's just my immune system, Amy explained. It's how we stay healthy. Two more medical staff hurried over. They spoke rapidly in their language while pointing at the screen. The translation device on Amy's collar caught fragments. Impossible metabolism and continuous regeneration. Commander Lee went next. When asked about physical capabilities, he mentioned his morning exercise routine. You deliberately stress your body daily? One officer asked. 5-mile run, some weights, basic training, Richard said with a shrug. Nothing special. The officers exchanged looks of alarm. When Dr. Garcia mentioned healing from a broken arm last year, the chief medical officer actually backed away. Your bones repair themselves? By the time all 5 humans completed their exams, a small crowd of alien medical personnel had gathered, all studying the results with expressions ranging from fascination to horror. Lisa pulled her team aside. We're causing quite a stir. Let's try to downplay our biology. Too late. Word spread quickly through the station. At lunch in the main dining hall, the humans found themselves seated alone at a large table. They gave us a 20-foot buffer zone, John observed quietly. Susan nodded toward a group of tentacled beings watching them. Those Floxians are recording us eating, like we're in a zoo. Amy picked up her cup of coffee. At least they provided earth beverages. I couldn't function without caffeine. A gasp rippled through nearby aliens. One smaller Floxian approached their table, its translator device glowing. Forgive my intrusion, it said, voice tinged with nervous excitement. But, is that truly the neurotoxin beverage? Amy looked at her cup. Coffee? Yes. And you consume it? Voluntarily? Every morning, Amy smiled. Sometimes 3 cups. The Floxian's color drained from bright orange to pale yellow. It turned to its companions and spoke rapidly. One of them promptly fainted, its tentacles going limp. Station security arrived within minutes. The lead officer, a reptilian being with scales that shifted from green to blue, approached cautiously. We must ask you to refrain from consuming dangerous substances in public areas, it said. Several delegates are distressed. Richard frowned. It's just coffee. A substance that would kill 17 species represented here, the officer replied. The fact that you drink it casually isn't concerning. After lunch, the team attended a physical capabilities demonstration where various species shared their evolutionary adaptations. A Mirkan demonstrated how it could change color to match backgrounds. A Viridian showed how its lightweight bones allowed effortless flight in normal gravity. When Richard was invited to share, he simply did 20 push-ups. The room fell silent, then erupted in shocked murmurs. What did I do wrong? He whispered to Susan when he returned to his seat. Nothing, she replied, watching the aliens' reactions. You just demonstrated continuous exertion against 1G gravity using only upper body strength. I think you just performed what they consider a superhuman feat. Lisa sighed. We need to have a team meeting. Now I understand Zeal's warnings. We're not just different. Everything about us terrifies them. As they left the demonstration hall, Lisa noticed a new development. Mixed with the fearful stares were looks of fascination and respect. The galaxy wasn't just afraid of humans. It was beginning to be impressed by them. The medical examination area buzzed with activity as delegates from all worlds underwent standard health checks. The human team waited their turn, watching as various alien bodies were scanned by machines that hummed and flashed. Just routine, Ambassador Zeal had assured them, to prevent cross-species contamination. Dr. Amy Washington went first, stepping into a rounded booth where blue light washed over her body. The medical officer, a tall being with 4 arms and skin like polished silver, studied the results on a screen. Its eyes widened. "Is something wrong?" Amy asked. The medical officer jumped at her voice. "Your skeleton? It's internal and made of calcium deposits?" "Yes, bones. All humans have them." The officer's fingers tapped rapidly on a panel. "And this reading can't be right. Your body appears to be constantly fighting microscopic invaders." "That's just my immune system," Amy explained. "It's how we stay healthy." Two more medical staff hurried over. They spoke rapidly in their language while pointing at the screen. The translation device on Amy's collar caught fragments: impossible metabolism and continuous regeneration. Commander Lee went next. When asked about physical capabilities, he mentioned his morning exercise routine. "You deliberately stress your body daily?" one officer asked. 5-mile run, some weights, basic training," Richard said with a shrug. "Nothing special." The officers exchanged looks of alarm. When Dr. Garcia mentioned healing from a broken arm last year, the chief medical officer actually backed away. "Your bones repair themselves?" By the time all 5 humans completed their exams, a small crowd of alien medical personnel had gathered, all studying the results with expressions ranging from fascination to horror. Lisa pulled her team aside. "We're causing quite a stir. Let's try to downplay our biology." Too late. Word spread quickly through the station. At lunch in the main dining hall, the humans found themselves seated alone at a large table. "They gave us a 20-foot buffer zone," John observed quietly. Susan nodded toward a group of tentacled beings watching them. "Those Floxians are recording us eating, like we're in a zoo." Amy picked up her cup of coffee. "At least they provided earth beverages. I couldn't function without caffeine." A gasp rippled through nearby aliens. One smaller Floxian approached their table, its translator device glowing. "Forgive my intrusion," it said, voice tinged with nervous excitement. "But, is that truly the neurotoxin beverage?" Amy looked at her cup. "Coffee? Yes." "And you consume it voluntarily?" "Every morning," Amy smiled. "Sometimes 3 cups." The Floxian's color drained from bright orange to pale yellow. It turned to its companions and spoke rapidly. One of them promptly fainted, its tentacles going limp. Station security arrived within minutes. The lead officer, a reptilian being with scales that shifted from green to blue, approached cautiously. "We must ask you to refrain from consuming dangerous substances in public areas," it said. "Several delegates are distressed." Richard frowned. "It's just coffee. A substance that would kill 17 species represented here," the officer replied. "The fact that you drink it casually isn't concerning." After lunch, the team attended a physical capabilities demonstration where various species shared their evolutionary adaptations. A Mirkan demonstrated how it could change color to match backgrounds. A Viridian showed how its lightweight bones allowed effortless flight in normal gravity. When Richard was invited to share, he simply did 20 push-ups. The room fell silent, then erupted in shocked murmurs. "What did I do wrong?" he whispered to Susan when he returned to his seat. "Nothing," she replied, watching the aliens' reactions. "You just demonstrated continuous exertion against 1G gravity using only upper body strength. I think you just performed what they consider a superhuman feat." Lisa sighed. "We need to have a team meeting. Now I understand Zeal's warnings. We're not just different. Everything about us terrifies them." As they left the demonstration hall, Lisa noticed a new development. Mixed with the fearful stares were looks of fascination and respect. The galaxy wasn't just afraid of humans. It was beginning to be impressed by them. Morning arrived on the space station with a gentle increase in lighting designed to mimic dawn. Lisa woke to an urgent message on her communication panel. Ambassador Zeal requested an immediate meeting with the human delegation. "This can't be good," she muttered, quickly alerting her team. They gathered in their common area, each looking worried. When Ambassador Zeal arrived, The blue-skinned diplomat appeared unusually tense. "Captain Peterson, a situation has developed," Zeal said, without preamble. "Several smaller alliances have formed overnight, specifically citing concerns about human expansion." "What?" Lisa was shocked. "We've barely introduced ourselves to the galactic community. How could anyone be worried about expansion already?" Zeal's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Recordings from your dinner conversations have spread throughout the station. Many species are disturbed by what they heard." "We were just talking about normal aspects of human life," Dr. Garcia protested. "What you consider normal, others find deeply concerning." Zeal touched a device on his wrist, projecting a holographic display. "Look at these news feeds." The team watched in dismay as alien news networks displayed images of Earth, focusing on volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, and predatory animals. Headlines translated to phrases like "humans," "evolved in hell," and "deathworlders among us." One report showed footage of human Olympic athletes with the caption, "Super soldiers." "This is ridiculous," Commander Lee said. "We're not a threat." "Perhaps not intentionally," Zeal replied. "But try to understand. Most species here evolved in environments with quarter to half of Earth's gravity, stable climates, and minimal environmental threats. Your casual descriptions of Earth's conditions sound apocalyptic to them." Dr. Washington frowned at the display. "They've scheduled an emergency session of the Galactic Security Council to discuss us?" "Yes. In 3 hours." Zeal looked uncomfortable. "I should warn you, some delegations are already talking about quarantine protocols for potentially dangerous species." After Zeal left, the team sat in stunned silence. "They want to quarantine humanity?" John finally said. "Based on dinner conversation?" Lisa rubbed her temples. "This is spiraling out of control. Dr. Garcia, your agricultural presentation is scheduled before the Security Council meeting. This might be our last chance to change perceptions." "I'll focus on our sustainable farming practices," Peter promised. "Nothing controversial." 2 hours later, Peter stood before a room of alien diplomats displaying images of Earth's farmlands. He carefully avoided mentions of livestock farming, focusing instead on crop production. "Earth's varied climates allow us to grow many types of plants," he explained, showing images of wheat fields and orchards. An alien with feathery tendrils raised an appendage. "These plants grow directly in soil, without protective barriers?" "Yes," Peter said cautiously. "That's how plants typically grow. On a planet with constant tectonic activity, extreme weather, and harmful radiation from your sun?" Another delegate asked incredulously. Peter hesitated. "Well, yes. Earth life has adapted to those conditions." Murmurs spread through the audience. "And you consume these plants that have been exposed to such hazards?" a crystalline being asked. "After proper cleaning and preparation, yes." The presentation continued with mounting tension. Each fact about Earth's agriculture that Peter considered mundane was received with growing alarm. When he mentioned that humans had developed agriculture thousands of years ago despite natural obstacles, the room erupted in whispers. From the back of the room, Lisa watched with growing concern as diplomats huddled together, speaking urgently. She spotted representatives from various worlds leaving the room in groups, heads close together in discussion. On her communication device, John sent her a message. "Multiple species just agreed to form a defensive alliance. They're calling it the Earth Containment Coalition. This is bad." Lisa scanned the room, noting how aliens now looked at Peter not with the earlier mixture of fear and curiosity, but with something new, determination. They weren't just afraid of humans anymore. They were preparing to defend themselves against them. The emergency session of the Galactic Security Council began with representatives from 12 major alliances seated in a semicircle. The human delegation was placed in the center, facing them like defendants at a trial. Lisa glanced at her team, seeing their worried expressions. John was typing notes furiously, while Susan studied the body language of various aliens. "Commander," Lee sat rigidly, his military training evident in his perfect posture. The head counselor, a tall being with iridescent scales that shifted colors as it moved, called the session to order. "We are gathered to address concerns regarding the newly contacted species known as humans," the counselor announced. "Evidence suggests they may present unintentional dangers to galactic peace." "This is absurd," Richard whispered to Lisa. "We haven't done anything threatening." "Patience," she replied quietly. "Let's hear their concerns before responding." Various representatives presented their cases. A floating cloud-like entity showed charts comparing Earth's gravity, atmospheric composition, and radiation levels to other inhabited worlds. A six-armed being displayed footage of Earth's weather systems, focusing on hurricanes and tornadoes. A gelatinous creature presented a list of Earth's predatory animals. "These humans," concluded one speaker, "have evolved in conditions that would kill most sentient species. Their physical capabilities alone make them potentially dangerous, even without hostile intent. We propose a containment protocol," another representative suggested, "limiting human expansion to their home system until proper safety assessments can be conducted." Lisa felt a cold weight in her stomach. This wasn't just fear anymore. It was becoming policy. She stood to address the council when a commotion erupted in the station's recreational area, connected to the council chamber by a large viewing window. Through the window, they saw a small alien child, appearing similar to Ambassador Zeal's species but smaller, climbing on a decorative structure that was beginning to tilt dangerously. Its parent was calling out in alarm, too far away to reach the child. Before anyone could react, Commander Lee was on his feet and moving. He crossed the chamber in seconds, pushed through the connecting doorway and sprinted toward the toppling structure. With a leap that showcased the very physical abilities the council feared, he caught the child just as the heavy structure crashed down. The entire council chamber fell silent, watching as Richard shielded the small alien with his body, taking the impact of falling debris on his back and shoulders. When the dust settled, he stood, cradling the unharmed child. He walked calmly to the frightened parent who stood frozen in shock. "Your little one is safe," Richard said softly, gently transferring the child. For one moment, the parent held its child, looking up at Richard with an expression of pure gratitude that needed no translation. Then station security arrived, weapons drawn. "Step away from the civilians, human," the security chief ordered. Richard raised his hand slowly. "There's been a misunderstanding. You were seen grabbing a child and running," the security chief said, weapon still aimed. "Return to your quarters immediately. All humans are confined until further notice." The human delegation watched in disbelief as Richard was escorted away. The council chamber erupted in chaotic discussion. "This is insane," Dr. Washington said. "He saved that child's life." "They saw what they expected to see," John said grimly. "A dangerous human moving quickly and grabbing a child." Lisa made a quick decision. "We can't win this with traditional diplomacy. They're too afraid of what they don't understand." "What do we do?" Susan asked. "We show them everything," Lisa said firmly. "No more tiptoeing around what we are. If they're going to judge humanity, they should know the whole truth." "That could backfire terribly," Peter warned. "Maybe," Lisa acknowledged. "But hiding aspects of our nature has only made things worse. It's time for radical transparency." She turned toward the council, who were still debating among themselves, and took a deep breath. "Honored representatives," she called out, her voice cutting through the noise. "We request the right to address all delegates and present the unfiltered truth about humanity." The station's main assembly hall was filled beyond capacity. News of the human request had spread quickly, and delegates from every species wanted to witness what some were calling the human defense. Commander Lee had been allowed to rejoin his team after the alien child's parent insisted he was a hero, not a threat. Now the 5 humans stood together on the central platform, surrounded by the greatest gathering of alien species in the station's history. "Thank you for this opportunity," Lisa began, her voice carried by translators throughout the hall. "We understand your fears about humans. Today we want to show you the complete truth about us, not just the parts that seem frightening. She nodded to Dr. Amy Washington, who stepped forward with data displays ready. Yes, humans evolved on what you call a death world, Amy said. But that doesn't make us monsters. It makes us adaptable. She displayed images of Earth's diverse environments. Our planet taught us to be flexible, to solve problems, to cooperate. You've seen our physical resilience, she continued, showing medical scans of human bodies. But look closer. Our skin tears easily. Our bones break under sufficient force. We can die from tiny infections if not treated. We aren't invulnerable. We're actually quite fragile. Murmurs spread through the crowd as Amy displayed more data. Humans survive not because we're superior, but because we compensate for our weaknesses. Professor Brown took over next. You've heard we consume substances toxic to your species like caffeine, but many Earth plants evolved these compounds as natural pesticides. We adapted to tolerate them, just as your species adapted to your own worlds. She showed images of human artistic expressions, paintings, sculptures, music. You were disturbed that humans create entertainment from fear. But this is how we process our emotions, how we face our own mortality. Through stories, we confront what terrifies us. Dr. Garcia presented next, focusing on Earth's history of natural disasters. Yes, our world has volcanoes, earthquakes, and extreme weather. These forces shaped us, not into conquerors, but into survivors who understand that cooperation is essential for life. He showed images of humans responding to disasters, forming human chains to rescue flood victims, digging through rubble after earthquakes, communities rebuilding together. When our world threatens us, Peter explained, we don't fight each other, we help each other. John Miller addressed the diplomatic concerns directly. You fear we might expand aggressively because we come from a harsh world. But our history shows that humans who face hardship together form stronger bonds. We don't want to conquer the galaxy. We want to join it. Commander Lee stepped forward last. His uniform was still stained from the earlier incident. I understand why my actions frightened you, he said simply. You saw a human moving quickly toward a child and assumed danger. What you didn't understand is that human strength and speed exist alongside a deep instinct to protect. He displayed footage from Earth, adults shielding children during disasters, people rushing into burning buildings to save strangers, medical workers risking their lives during disease outbreaks. This is humanity, Richard said. Not just physical capability, but the choice to use that capability to help others. Lisa returned to center stage, looking out at the sea of alien faces. The fear she had seen earlier was still present in some, but now mixed with something new, confusion, curiosity, and in some cases understanding. We can't change what we are, she said. Earth shaped us into creatures that can endure hardship and danger, but it also taught us compassion, because on a world as challenging as ours, no one survives alone. She took a deep breath. Judge us, not by the conditions that created us, but by the choices we make with the abilities those conditions gave us. The hall remained silent as her words were translated across all species. Then from the back of the room a small voice spoke. It was the child Commander Lee had saved. The human saved me, the child said simply. He was not scary. He was kind. The words of the small alien child echoed through the assembly hall. The human saved me. He was not scary. He was kind. A moment of perfect silence followed. Then the child's parents stepped forward. My child speaks truth, they said. I watched this human risk injury to save someone not of his kind. If that is humanity, perhaps we have judged too quickly. Claxtoon, the friendly Zithari who had first explained to the humans why others feared them, moved to the center of the hall. The Zithari believe knowledge drives away fear, Claxtoon announced. These humans have shared knowledge freely. They have shown us not just their strength but their vulnerability, not just their resilience but their compassion. Slowly, other voices joined in. The head counselor called for order, then addressed the assembly. We will take time to consider what we have learned today. the counselor said. The emergency session is suspended. Regular summit activities will resume tomorrow. As the crowd dispersed, Ambassador Zeal approached the human team. That was unexpected, Zeal said. No species has ever voluntarily revealed their weaknesses at a galactic gathering. Sometimes strength comes from honesty, Lisa replied. The following days brought remarkable changes. Species that had avoided the humans now approached with cautious curiosity. Questions that had once seemed hostile became genuinely inquisitive. In the science exchange, Dr. Washington found herself surrounded by alien biologists fascinated by human medical technology. You developed medicines to help your bodies fight diseases? A plant-like being asked, tendrils waving with excitement. Rather than evolving immunity naturally. We couldn't wait for evolution, Amy explained. So we used our minds to create solutions. In the Cultural Center, Professor Brown discovered several species studying human literature and art. Your stories about overcoming hardship give us new perspective, a crystalline entity told her. We have known only stability for millennia. By the final day of the summit, 3 major alliances had approached Lisa about trade agreements with Earth. The Galactic Security Council had replaced their containment proposal with a new initiative, the Human Understanding Committee. To prevent future misunderstandings, the counselor explained, and to help integrate Earth into the galactic community. In the station's garden, now their favorite meeting spot, the human team gathered one last time before departure. Who would have thought being scary could lead to diplomatic success? Richard joked. We weren't successful because we scared them, John corrected. We succeeded when we showed them we were more than just scary. Lisa looked around at her team. Earth prepared us for hardship, but it also taught us to adapt, to solve problems, to work together. Those are the qualities that will define humanity's place in the galaxy. As they walked toward the docking bay where the Handshake waited, they passed a group of alien children being supervised by adults from various species. The children pointed excitedly at the humans. Tell us an Earth story, one called out. About dangerous weather. The adults looked nervous, but didn't intervene. Lisa knelt down to the child's level. Perhaps next time I visit, but I hope someday you'll come to Earth and see for yourself that while our world can be harsh, it's also beautiful. On the observation deck, Claxtoon and Ambassador Zeal watched the human ship prepare for departure. Do you still think they're dangerous? Zeal asked. Absolutely, Claxtoon replied. But not in the way we feared. They're dangerous because they make us question our comfortable assumptions. They show us that challenge breeds innovation, that hardship can forge compassion. And the galaxy will never be the same, Zeal observed. No, agreed Claxtoon, watching the human ship activate its engines. It will be better. Aboard the Handshake, Lisa looked back at the station growing smaller behind them. Their mission had been nothing like what they'd expected. They came to make a good first impression, and instead ended up showing the galaxy humanity's true nature, both frightening and inspiring. As Earth's first representatives, they hadn't hidden what made humans different. They had helped the galaxy understand it, and in doing so, they had secured humanity's place among the stars.